Thank you. Um, I'm going to talk about generative AI, technology that can quickly generate intricate words, sounds, or images in response to a prompt or a seed. And there are many things I love about this sort of technology. I make use of it myself, as I'm sure do many of you. I do have some concerns about the ways we use this technology, and my main concerns relate to AI generated words. So initially, I'll focus on that. And then at the end, I'll explain why I'm perhaps less concerned about AI generated sounds and images. I think John the Evangelist had a point when he said, or rather wrote, that in the beginning was the Word. A human agency, individual and collective, is closely related to the making of meaning. And meaning is made and conveyed in large part with words. Hopefully, I'm providing an example of this right now. And in order for us to exercise our agency, to invoke an idea that Tim Andrew mentioned, the words we use have to be in some robust sense our own, and the sense we make of the words of others has to be our own. And at the risk of coming across as a Luddite, I think that if we trace a history from spell checking being introduced with personal computing in the 1980s, to autocorrection as introduced by version 6 of Microsoft Word in the 1990s, to the autocomplete feature that was introduced into Google Search in 2008, to the auto-generation of text that's now possible with the likes of ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Llama, Meta AI, and so on, I think it's legitimate to ask whether the words we use are drifting away from our agency. Because anyone who opens any writing or publishing tool today is liable to be asked if they want help from AI to create the text. It's as though a super-powered version of Microsoft's detested Clippy from the dawn of this century has slunk back into our lives. And anyone who opens a pre-existing document now is liable to be asked if they want help from AI to make sense of the text we're reading. And if we now have AI both writing and reading our words, then we have to question whose agency is being served and how. Anyone here in the audience who's tried applying for jobs since the beginning of this year has had to contend with, or has been complicit in, the widespread use of generative AI to create and embellish both CVs and cover letters. And at the extreme end, even the use of AI bots to actually seek out and apply for jobs. Meanwhile, employers and recruiters are themselves using AI to sift through and prioritize the job applications they receive. And at the extreme end, they're actually using AI bots and AI avatars to conduct interviews, or at least first-round interviews. And one could take the rather bleak view that the worlds of business and employment have always encouraged people to behave and communicate like machines. And this is just ramping that up by getting actual machines to do everything. But if it doesn't bother you, let's think about education. Anyone here in the audience involved in teaching, tutoring, or supervising at any level, from secondary education onward, including higher education, even postgraduate education, knows that students now routinely turn in written work that's been generated by AI. But the flip side, again, is that educators and institutions are increasingly trying to use AI to assess work that's submitted with tools like Crowdmark, Essay Grader, Gradescope, Writable. One organization, Thesify, actually offers both the essay writing and the essay marking tools under the same brand. It's like some ghastly Ouroboros. Again and again, there are instances we see in which neither side of the human relationship implied by the use of words is holding up their end of the bargain. People are seeking, or at least they're being encouraged, to get machines to write for them and read for them. Now, I know there are nuances and justifications and symbioses and special contexts and clever strategies. But no matter how many times people use fashionable phrases like co-pilot or human in the loop, I still suspect a diminution of agency. Co-pilot is still too close to autopilot for my liking. And this diminution of agency is a problem because if we don't care enough about our words to make them ourselves and make meaning of them ourselves, then we're relinquishing ownership of them. We're effectively inviting other people to control them, perhaps people in Silicon Valley, perhaps people like Lord Bethel. To be clear on what I mean about owning our words, And this is important in light of what Andrew was discussing. I'm not saying we should be monitored by the authorities for the words we use online or in public, and nor am I saying that we should be deterred from expressing our thoughts by preemptive worry that we'll have our collar felt or get a knock on our door. On the contrary, as a general rule, I don't think anyone should have their collar felt or get a knock on their door because of anything they've said online or in public. And I also happen to think that online anonymity can be an important and legitimate option. But it becomes harder to make that case if we're not using our own words to make meaning, even if it's the most controversial or depraved or scurrilous meaning, even if it's expressed anonymously. I'll conclude with a quick reflection on sounds and images, because obviously some of what I say about words goes not just for written words, but also for words read out by humans or spoken by simulated humans, perhaps by so-called voice clones. But that overlap aside, I'm actually a bit more sanguine about AI-generated sounds and static images and moving images and combinations of these. You'll have heard concerns about deepfakes, convincing recordings of people saying and doing things they never actually said or did. There have been many concerns around deepfakes, including concerns they would undermine democratic processes and outcomes during the many elections that are being held around the world this year. Evidence so far suggests that deepfakes haven't led to too many major problems along those lines, but let's look ahead. There are lots of interesting technological arms races going on in this area at the moment. I'm not going to make any firm predictions about how these play out, but let's just imagine one extreme long-term scenario when we reach a point where nothing whatsoever that looks or sounds like a recording can be safely assumed by anyone to be an authentic recording. In some ways, this would be a significant juncture in human history as the moment just under 200 years ago when the French inventor Joseph Nicephore Niepce took the world's first ever photograph, which was a landmark followed later in the 19th century by the first audio recordings and then the first films. Now, the journey to such an outcome, when nothing that looks like a recording can safely be assumed to be authentic, will be disruptive and distressing in many ways. But if we actually arrive there, then I can actually see upsides as well as downsides to a situation where our most reliable accounts and memories, like our most meaningful words, are the ones we make inside our heads. Thank you.
Thank you.